Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a video I was actually really excited to film. I saw someone else do it. I think it was Kelly Gooch did it very recently, where she went through and talked about her favorite product in every category. I could be wrong, but it was either her or Samantha March, I believe. I think this is such an interesting concept, and I really had to think about it in a couple of the categories, and others it was like instantaneous. I knew right away which ones I was going to pick. But before I start rambling the way that I do, let's jump right in. I'm going to be going in the order that I usually do my makeup in. So first is going to be primer, face primer. And for this pick, I chose the No Problem Prime Essence from Touch in Soul. I actually have had really good experiences with a lot of different Touch in Soul primers. I think they are really good in that department. This one in particular though has been my favorite because I have dry skin, and this is so hydrating, but at the same time it's thin, it's not heavy, it doesn't leave you like greasy or oily. Makeup also just sits beautifully on top of it. I'm actually almost out of it, and I will definitely be repurchasing it once it's used up. Normally for most people this would be now the foundation step, but for me I haven't really used foundation in months, maybe even longer than that. I go in with a concealer and just cover up the areas that I want to, and for me my favorite concealer is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi Sculpting Concealer. I find this one to have such great coverage. It's like medium, but you can build it to full, and it also sits really nicely under the eyes. It doesn't emphasize my dryness. It also doesn't emphasize the lines that I have under there. It doesn't crease on me throughout the day. It's this middle ground. It's like a natural finish where it's not drying, but it's also not overly heavy or thick, or just like sometimes when concealers are too hydrating, they just end up feeling sticky or goopy. This is not that. To me, it is the perfect, like, for anyone kind of concealer. From concealer to powder, we have the Beauty Bakery Flower Setting Powder. This one is an Oat, which is just the translucent shade. Sorry, the cap is super reflective. They did a phenomenal job with this powder. It's finely milled, it's not overly drying, it's actually really brightening under the eyes, and just leaves my face looking really smooth. So it is a beautiful powder, and I recommend it to anyone. Bronzer was a little bit of a tricky one because I do have a bronzer that I use the most, which is the Tarte Terracotta bronzer. It's inside of this Tarte Clay Play palette, and you'll see this palette pop up here and there because it's kind of my go-to palette for anything that I need and to supplement all kinds of different areas of my makeup routine. But when I thought about my absolute favorite bronzer of all time, it was this one. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer, powder bronzer in the shade Rich Amber. I could actually go a shade darker, but this one is really nice and works well for me. I'm not sure if you can see in this lighting, but I do have a dip in it. But this bronzer will last you ages and ages. I've probably had this bronzer like for 2 years, and I do use it regularly. But the formula is so smooth, so blendable. It's like you hardly even have to work it in, and it's diffused. And while it's not super pigmented right off the bat, it is buildable, and I prefer that with my face products because I want to be able to choose how much I have on and not go overboard, because I do have a tendency to do that. I'll just like swirl my brush in there, and I don't always care, but sometimes I do. So I like the option of going in light or be able to build it up. Blush is an area that I love so much. No amount of blush can ever be enough for me. And with this one, I was a little bit conflicted because some of my favorite things to do is dip into eyeshadows for blush, and I very regularly do that with my Juvia's Place palettes. So I thought about doing that, but I wanted to do an actual individual blush. And right away, I thought of this one. I know they were super popular back in the day on YouTube. I don't hear people talk about them as much. I think they were reformulated or they came out with new ones or something like that. But this is the Clinique Cheek Pop Blush in Ginger Pop. If you're an OG, I really hope you remember this. But it is such a beautiful blush. It's like a reddened coral shade, but it is so flattering on, I would say, almost any skin tone. The formula is soft but not powdery, and it is nicely pigmented. One of my all-time favorite blushes. For highlight, I'm actually not huge on highlight, if I'm being honest, and a lot of times I'll go in with whatever eyeshadow I use in my inner corner and I'll just put it on my cheeks. But if I had to choose, I kind of narrowed it down to two, one powder and one that's liquid. Again, we're pulling out the Tarte Clay Play palette. This highlight right here is actually not originally from this palette. It's from the Tartist Pro Cheek Palette, I believe is what it's called. It is the more goldy champagne shade in that palette, but I put them in here so that I could get use out of them since I pulled this one out so often. What I like about it is that it doesn't emphasize my texture, but it goes on super smooth and it's nice and illuminating, but it's not overly so. It's not metallic, so it still looks nice, and you can go in lightly if you want a little bit of a glow, or you can really amp it up and get something blinding. But for the liquid, it's actually the one I probably use more, even though this will last you 10,000 years because it is so beautiful and reflective, but a little bit goes a long way. You can go overboard super quickly. The shade is this gorgeous champagne. This is the Iconic London Illuminator, in case I didn't say, and the shade is in the original one. This one, again, you do have to work a little bit quickly because it does dry down, but if you put it on, or even I put it on the back of my hand and then I tap my sponge into it and I put it on, and it goes in really smoothly. It's super reflective, but it doesn't emphasize texture, so that's why I like it. And this one, if you go in lightly and you really buff it in, can look more like a glow than a shine, if that makes sense, and that's what I prefer. Now we've reached probably, no, 100% the hardest choice that I had to make, and that is eyeshadow. So I don't think it'll come as a surprise that eyeshadow is my favorite category in makeup. It is where I express my creativity the most, and so I jump around a lot. I love color, so there's a lot of different color schemes, but I also like going neutral as well. That made it difficult because I also very rarely use just one eyeshadow palette. Usually I'm pairing at least two eyeshadow palettes together. Not all the time, sometimes I'm just doing a simple look, or I have something in mind that is just specific to one palette, but I would say a good 80% of the time I'm pulling multiple palettes out to create looks together. There was a ton that I could have chosen from Juvia's Place. I thought of the Tati Beauty palette, the Jaclyn Hill palette, because I pull that one out actually a lot more than you would probably imagine, just when I want something that's going to blend and I'm just going to feel pretty in. There's just so many, but ultimately I chose this. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jackie Aina palette. Let's go ahead and open her up. This is what she looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. And there was a couple of reasons why I ended up going with this palette. And it was because I've always said this is a top 3 palette for me. But when I thought of I have to choose my absolute favorite, this one hit a lot of different areas for me. It is half colorful, half neutral. So I still get color in here, and I love these shades. Pinks and purples are some of my favorites, but then you also have the neutrals, but they're more interesting neutrals. They have red in there, so there's warmth, but it's more rich, and you also have some of the caramely tones and ginger, and you don't just have straight gold, which is usually what you get in a neutral palette, but you have this one that's shifting, it's the brown green, then you have this one that is a gold, but it's almost like a old gold, but it has green in there as well. So I had to do with the selection, along with the fact that the formula is beautiful. I never have any issues with the formula. It's so easy to go on, but you also have shades that I can use as inner corner highlights, which a lot of palettes for me usually lack an inner corner highlight, and I have to pull one from a different palette or use a highlight or something like that. So this one, it's so versatile. The formula is amazing and the shade selection is gorgeous, and that is why I had to ultimately go with the Jackie Aina palette as my #1 favorite. I actually feel super conflicted about that. I feel like I'm cheating on all my other palettes by saying that, but it's the truth. Although I do want to give a special shout out to the Clay Play palette because, I mean, just take a look. This is my #1 supplemental palette when something doesn't have like a setting shade or something to kind of blend out the edges of a eyeshadow look. I dip into this one, dip into the black. A lot of palettes don't have blacks, you know, and then sometimes when I'm just doing a super quick, you know, something in the crease and some mascara, I will dip into these shades here. So really versatile, and I'm actually sad that this is discontinued because I feel like I use it so often that I couldn't not give it a shout out, even if it is a little basic. Moving on to other eye products, we have eyeliners. For liquid liner, I went with the NYX Epic Ink liner. I think this one is super great. The tip is nice and easy to use, and it comes up to a very sharp point that makes it easy to get a nice thin, precise line. It is very black, it is long lasting, and on top of all of that, it's affordable, so how could you not love it? My current favorite liners for my waterline are actually also from NYX. These are the NYX retractable eyeliners. Okay, I thought NYX usually has like some special super long name, but okay, it's just the retractable eyeliner. I have them in white and in black, and they're just pigmented, super smooth to go on, last all day. The black one doesn't run on me, which tends to happen to me with a lot of eyeliners because I get watery eyes pretty often actually. That's why I love this one. It doesn't run. The white one is probably my most used. I use white eyeliner more than any other color. These are just go-to staples, and again, affordable. For mascara, this is my most repurchased mascara of all time. I really love it. It's the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara. It's the one that's in kind of like the greeny mint variation, because I know there's a few different ones. I think there's like a pink or purple, something like that, but this specific one is the one that I love. It's super black, and it gives you both length and volume, which is something that I look for in a mascara. And the formula, it doesn't clump, it isn't heavy. I really like the wand. It's not overly big and bulky, so it's easy to get in there, and it's really easy to also use on the bottom lash line without bumping into anything or having any issues. This is a mascara that I always recommend to anyone. I actually recommended it to both my mother-in-law and also my husband's aunt, and both of them went out and bought it and loved it. So this one, hands down, I knew right away it was going to be my mascara pick. Second to last, obviously, have to be lips. So we're going to start off with lip liner. It's funny because up until about a year or so ago, I very rarely used a lip liner, and now I can't live without it. I love lip liner, even if it's just putting it on and putting on like a clear gloss on top. It's become an essential part of my makeup routine, and this one is my absolute favorite. You can see it's like really small by now. This is the Milani Color Statement Lip Liner in the shade Spice. First of all, the color itself, you can see it there. It's a nude, but like the name says, it's spicy. It has a lot of that brownie orange terracotta undertone, which to me is my favorite because it goes well with pretty much anything. I can use it on a daily basis. I can use it with most lipsticks that aren't obviously colorful in some sort of way. The formula is smooth, it just glides on, it is pigmented, it lasts all day. It's so comfortable, it's not drying on the lips at all. So this one is the one that I reach for the most. If you haven't tried their lip liners, I 100% would tell you go give them a try. I highly recommend. I wanted to get my gloss pick out of the way. You can see there's basically almost nothing in the tube. So this is from Essence. Their name has completely rubbed off by now. It's their, I think now they're called Extreme Shine. They used to be called the Shine 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 lip gloss. There's something like $3 or $4 at most. I'm pretty sure it's like $3 actually. What I love about this formula is the fact that when you put it on your lips, it's not overly thick, it's not sticky, but it almost like fills in the lines of your lips so that they look juicier and plumper, even though it's not a plumping lip gloss in any way. It doesn't have any kind of mintiness or tingling or anything, but just filling in those lines and making it all look nice and smooth makes your lips look bigger and juicier. It also has enough thickness that it lasts throughout the day, even when I'm drinking stuff, but it's not, like I said, it's not sticky, it's not uncomfortable. You don't get those like strings when you talk. I don't know if you wear makeup, you've had that happen before, and it's like so gross and uncomfortable, and I hate it. That is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to lip gloss, and that doesn't happen with these. This one is just the clear one, but I have multiple shades. It just so happens that the clear one is my favorite because I can just throw it on top of anything. I'm actually wearing it today. I dabbed some on my finger and put it on top of the liquid lipstick and lipstick combo that I put on. The details for this makeup will be down below. I also did a short if you want to go see the entire process. But this is another pick that I recommend to anyone that ever asks. And a lot of the time, even if they don't ask, because sometimes when you find something that's really, really great, you feel like everyone needs to know about it. For my lipstick pick, I thought of maybe choosing a bullet lipstick that I like and a liquid lipstick that I like, but ultimately I thought about what lipsticks I wear the most often. Which am I picking up all of the time? A very, very close contender was actually the Wet n Wild liquid catsuits. I wear those so much in a bunch of different shades. I also really like their bullet lipsticks, but for the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, the ones I've reached for all of the time are these. So I have two different formulas. There is the High Shine liquid lipstick, which is basically a lipstick in liquid form, and the other is a matte liquid lipstick formula, and these are from Ulta Beauty. So as you can see, these look small because it came in a set. They had their lip glossary. I think this was last year's. It might have even been the year before that. So I had never tried Ulta Beauty's like in-house lip products, so I didn't know what to expect, but my husband actually picked it up for me, the set, and it was really cute, and I figured might as well try them out, and they really blew me away. They really impressed me because they're super pigmented, very comfortable on the lips, long lasting. Like I said, they're basically have been most of my go-tos. There are others, obviously. Half Caked has a beautiful liquid lipstick formula. Like I said, the Wet n Wild liquid catsuits, those I also reach for often, but these are my number ones, and I had to actually pull these out of my bag because I throw them into my purse or my bag anytime I go out. Ulta's lip products are underrated. More people need to check them out because they are totally worth it. These, as far as lipstick goes, are my favorite at the moment. So little asterisk, but another that you have to go check out if you haven't. And now we've reached our last category, and that is setting spray. And for me, I have chosen the Tarte Maracuja Miracle Mist Setting Spray. Most of the time when I use the setting spray is because I want to bring some hydration back to my skin. I want to take any powderiness away, and this is hydrating, so it leaves your face looking hydrated and plump, but not greasy. There is a fine line between the two. I also love the mister on this. You can see, well, hopefully you can see, it's really, really fine, so you don't get droplets on your face or anything like that. It's just really beautiful. I've heard some people say that the Morphe setting spray might be a dupe for this. I've never tried that, so I can't say it, but I can say that this one I think is 100% worth the buy. So there we go, all of my picks for my favorites in every category. Let me know what you think. Are there some that you agree with that are also your favorites? I would also love to know what your picks are. That's always interesting to me. If you enjoyed this, I hope you consider subscribing. If you liked it, go ahead and drop a like. I hope you guys are doing well, and until next time, bye!